Akagami Akimitsu is a college student who has always been bitchless due to his personal experience. Not only is he a virgin but also a smelly loser who doesn't party and go out with his friends. He only focuses on his career as he wants to pursue his goal of becoming a noble salaryman in Japan. This stems from a traumatic childhood experience where his father abandoned him at the tender age of 5 in pursuit of a hedonistic lifestyle, leaving behind a trail of bitterness and resentment among those who knew him. To clean his family's name, Akimitsu decided to live his life as a noble single. But everything changes one day when he meets a beautiful girl on a random street. She is carrying a few baskets, one of which hits Akimitsu and causes him to fall. She runs up to him and apologizes. Her beauty causes Akimitsu's hormones to go crazy and he instantly falls in love. That night, he runs off to his house and jerks off to calm down his horniness. However, this makes his noble single life go insane as he starts to go out with his friend, drowning himself in alcohol. This makes him lose his job as well as fail his classes. One day, Akimitsu wakes up and decides that he will make his life noble once again as he calls his uncle, who suggests he become a monk. At the request of his uncle, he heads to a monastery to learn the art of being a monk and abstain from the pleasures of the world. He knocks on the door when the same beautiful girl opens the door and greets him. Akimitsu gets confused and worried that he has arrived at the wrong place. The girl who opens the door gets frightened seeing a man and runs away. Akimitsu forcefully enters the room and finds the same girl whose clothes have fallen off, showing her beautiful globes. A guy like Akimitsu, who is a virgin and his hormones are at peak, instantly gets a nosebleed. However, the perverted moment doesn't end here as the fan service continues for a while. This makes Akimitsu even more horny as he proposes to her on the spot. The girl invites him over and gives him tea as she formally introduces herself as Ayaba Yuzuki. She asks him a few questions which makes Akimitsu think that she must be testing him to see if he is qualified to be a monk or not. However, the questions get weirder, which causes his throat to go dry as he takes a short break. He is walking through the hallway when he notices a well from which a cat meowing can be heard. He heads to the well and finds a cat stuck inside the well. He reaches out into the well to grab the cat but falls himself. In the room, Yuzuki calls another girl in the monastery named Kiki and informs her that the person whom she was going to be arranged married to arrived earlier than the time given. She also tells her that he even proposed to her, so she doesn't know what to do. Kiki gets confused as she informs her that the man in question is sitting in front of her right now. Yuzuki gets scared as she asks herself what to do now. At that moment, Tsukuyo, who is also one of the girls who are staying at the monastery, appears at the door. Yuzuki tells her that an evil spirit has appeared at the monastery and is hunting for young girls. Tsukuyo is about to laugh it off when she looks behind Yuzuki and sees a man covered in blood. They both run while screaming at the top of their lungs. They run through the hallway as Akimitsu chases after them. On his chase, he also stumbles into another girl, Kirich, who falls unconscious seeing him. He puts her down and runs after the girls again. Yuzuki decides to get brave and hit Akimitsu in the face, knocking him down. After a while, he wakes up and finds himself surrounded by many girls. One of them is Kiki, who seems to be a bit mature. After clearing the misunderstanding, Akimitsu learns that this is a nunnery where only women live. Akimitsu is about to leave when Yuzuki decides to drop him off at the bus stop. At the stop, while they are waiting for the bus, she apologizes to him for kicking him earlier. Akimitsu doesn't mind as he was at fault for entering their nunnery. Both of them once again introduce themselves when she realizes that Akimitsu's surname is Akagami. She drags him back to the nunnery as he is put on trial by the girls. It turns out that his father once took money from the temple and ran away without giving it back to them. So as his son, he would have to pay his father's debt by selling his body to the nunnery. While Yuzuki is showing Akimitsu the tour of the temple, the girls are plotting a heinous plan to have him expelled from the temple. Kiki proposes that if Tsukuyo can manage to seduce Yuzuki, then perhaps she can have him expelled. The next morning, Akimitsu wakes up and starts cleaning the whole temple. After cleaning the temple, he starts to cook breakfast when Yuzuki comes into the kitchen and greets him. Akimitsu sees her cleavage and can't help but keep staring at it. Tsukuyo sees this and is sure that Akimitsu is one horny brat. After they are done with the breakfast, Tsukuyo gives him thin summer clothes to wear as she orders him to clean the temple. Akimitsu answers that he has already done it in the morning. However, she isn't so easily willing to give up, so she brings him outside and showers him with cold water in the name of training. But Akimitsu can bear that when he sees Yuzuki in a school uniform. Things go on, but Tsukuyo isn't able to do anything, so she takes things to the extreme. While Akimitsu is taking a bath, she waits for him to come outside. Akimitsu opens the door and sees her outside the bathroom. He quickly jumps back in the tub and asks her what's going on. But Tsukuyo doesn't answer and starts to undress. Akimitsu tries to calm him down, but she keeps on doing that when her arm accidentally hits the shelf behind her, causing some boxes to drop on her. Fortunately, Akimitsu jumps onto her and saves her, but ends up kissing her instead. Yuzuki, who is passing by, sees this and asks Akimitsu to leave. Tsukuyo wants to talk to her sister, but Yuzuki doesn't let her, so she forcefully barges into her room and finds her being all flushed up because she accidentally saw Ikemitsu's whiner. Tsukuyo laughs at her for being a pervert. Both of the sisters make up as they decide that having Ikemitsu at the temple isn't half bad. However, they are soon shocked to learn that Ikemitsu has left the temple and is on his way back home. Unfortunately, it's too late for Ikemitsu, as his house was given to a new tenant and his job manager also refused to let him work again. He tries to turn himself into the police, but they don't want him and kick him. Poor Ikemitsu has no choice but to take shelter below a bridge when Yuzuki and Tsukuyo arrive and take him back to the temple. The next day, Ikemitsu learns from Yuzuki's younger sister Courage that Yuzuki is a meathead and pretty dumb. She also teases Ikemitsu and says perverted stuff. Ikemitsu's image of this child gets instantly ruined as he now knows that he can't trust anyone in the temple. Ikemitsu's past problems are yet to be solved when a new one arrives. Mia, one of the girls at the temple, challenges Ikemitsu to a duel. The loser would have to do any one thing told by the winner. The duel begins as Mia slashes her sword at Ikemitsu. However, he has already set a plan in his mind as he prepares to grab the sword in his palms. But with the lucky pervert charm, he ends up grabbing her twin peaks instead. Mia falls and loses the duel even though she is this proactive. Now that she has lost, Ikemitsu can have her do anything. At the time of the wish, she happens to be holding a book regarding Buddhist practices, which catches his attention as he points at her. Mia mistakes his pointing towards her chest, causing her to run out of the room, calling him a pervert. Poor Ikemitsu is sleeping alone at night when he feels a soft feeling on his body. He opens his eyes and discovers Mia sitting on top of him. She drags her shirt down, causing her massive assets to slip out. She uses her mounds to pounce on his face as she tries to suffocate him. The awkward moment couldn't get more awkward when Mia's big sister arrives at the scene and catches them in this indecent act. After clearing the misunderstanding, Mia gets embarrassed as she can't believe she got this horny. Her big sister then leads them to a room and locks them in. Being in a dark room all alone makes both of their hearts race. Ikemitsu shows his kindness by giving Mia a blanket to keep herself warm. Seeing this, her heart melts as she tells him that she belongs to a pervert family whose women are famous for having 100 lovers. That's why she was shunned by society. Hearing her backstory reminds Ikemitsu of his own and he starts to cry. Both of them patch up as they have similar situations and decide to help each other in obtaining enlightenment. Then they both spend their entire night training using the techniques in the book. As they are training, Mia's big sister is recording them. In the morning, Yuzuki comes to their house and finds them in an indecent position, causing her to get angry as she punishes Ikemitsu. The next day, Yuzuki is late for her meeting with the head priest whom she is going to marry to save their temple. She explains to Ikemitsu that their temple doesn't have a head priest, so they would be closed soon. So to save the temple, she will marry another head priest. Although Ikemitsu is taken aback by her words, he appreciates her bravery and runs with her. After going through various hassles, they somehow manage to make it on time. The nun at the temple escorts Yuzuki to the priest while Ikemitsu is given the task of mowing the lawn. Yuzuki sits in front of the priest and introduces herself. She talks about the marriage and the complications at the temple. She keeps her composure until she sees Ikemitsu on the lawn. She suddenly loses her composure and starts to drift off the track. The priest notices this and invites Ikemitsu over. Ikemitsu acts as the middleman as he asks the priest questions about his type of woman and what he likes to do. But hearing the answer keeps on making him imagine Yuzuki in indecent acts. This keeps on going till he can't bear anymore and gives up. The priest tells Yuzuki that he knows her true purpose. This makes Yuzuki ashamed as she remembers the plot that she and Kiki cooked. Their plan was to get engaged to the priest, and after 3 years, when she becomes the real nun, she would have to cancel the engagement anyway. This evil plot, however, is seen by the priest, but he doesn't mind as he accepts the engagement, but only on paper. The main reason for this was Ikemitsu's resolution and his love for Yuzuki and the temple. After the meeting, both of them prepare to head home, but all the stations are closed, so they have no choice but to sleep at a nearby love hotel. Entering their room, they find a lot of perverted stuff. Ikemitsu gets all horny, so to calm himself down, he heads to the bath. While he is taking his bath, Yuzuki watches adult videos, which makes her extremely turned on. After Ikemitsu gets out of the shower, she immediately rushes in and cools herself. Ikemitsu turns on the TV and finds adult videos on it. He immediately closes it. He didn't know that Yuzuki was so perverted as well. To keep Yuzuki safe from himself, he ties his arms to the BDSM chamber and sleeps standing. After taking her bath, Yuzuki comes out and finds him in this embarrassing position, so she puts a blindfold on his eyes as she heads to sleep and calls him stupid in her heart. The next day, Yuzuki and Tsukuyo are heading to school when Tsukuyo reminds Yuzuki to not talk about Ikemitsu in the school at all. She doesn't want other students to think that they have a man living with them, as they say no matter how much you avoid the trouble, it catches you off guard anyway. The same thing happens with Tsukuyo as her classmates confront her about her new boyfriend. They informed Tsukuyo about the incident where she was kissing a guy beneath a bridge. Tsukuyo tries to clear the misunderstanding but makes it worse, so she runs off to the nurse's office. However, on her way, she finds Ikemitsu standing on the school grounds with a lunchbox, so she heads out, grabs him and takes him to the nurse's office. She is about to hide him, but someone enters the room, so she ends up hiding him under her blanket. After the girls leave, Ikemitsu wriggles out from the blanket as Tsukuyo gets all blushed as she is so close to him. During the conversation with the girls, Ikemitsu discovers that Tsukuyo is a part of the archery club, so he questions her about it. She tells him that she doesn't like archery anymore, but she refuses to answer. However, Ikemitsu notices her weird behavior and he starts to coerce her into joining the club once again. But after being persisted by him so many times, Tsukuyo can't help but head to the archery club. Ikemitsu follows her as he sees her enjoy archery. He confronts her and tells her that she should keep on doing the things she likes. Soon, Tsukuyo joins the archery club once again as she thanks Ikemitsu for making it happen despite her initial rejection. Kagura is writing her diary in her room as she talks to herself about Ikemitsu and his effect on the family ever since he arrived at their temple. She wishes that he would forever live with them. The next morning, Yuzuki calls for an all-girls meeting as she discusses the cursed weight scale. She informs the girls that it might be cursed as it shows wrong information to them. Soon they realize the harsh reality that they are gaining weight, so the only way to combat this is to exercise. The next morning, they all dress up in their yoga outfits as they start their exercises. The exercise is nothing but a fan service to the fans, so might as well let them enjoy it. After doing the exercises for a few days, they realize that it's not working, so they just give in by saying it is what it is. A few days later, Ikemitsu is going on his usual routine when he notices Yuzuki's silhouette cutting things with an axe. He gets frightened and mistakes it as training for chopping him off. Things go on like this as he discovers Yuzuki getting colder and colder. Ikemitsu gets worried and begins to contemplate if he has done something wrong, but Kiki tells him that it's nothing but training to be a priest. Ikemitsu is enlightened and thanks Kiki for her valuable information. He also requests to join the training, so Mia also chips in and wants to join as well. So that's how all three of them start to train to become qualified priests. A few days later, the head priest who got engaged to Yuzuki comes to their temple and informs them that if Yuzuki is unable to become a priest in 3 months, he will cancel the engagement. Despite Kiki telling him that it takes more than 6 months to do that, he doesn't listen to her as he gives his final verdict. The next day, Kiki formally starts their training. The first part of the training is what color their underwear is. She informs them a priest needs to be always in white underwear as it represents peace. Since none of them owned a white pair of underwear, they had to go commando. This made the training even more difficult for Ikemitsu, who kept seeing the jiggles of their snow mounds. After that, the next part of the training is calligraphy. Ikemitsu is very good at it and passes with flying colors. But when it comes to Yuzuki, her handwriting is terrible and messy. Mia, on the other hand, serves as nothing but a plot to make everything more ekai. At night, Kiki orders them to sleep together in a single room so they can train their will. But they are unable to sleep a wink. In the morning, after their training, Kiki sends them to a mixed-gender sauna to heal themselves. There, the heat makes them go crazy as they start talking about their worldly desires. Mia tells them that last night, after looking at Ikemitsu's Adam's apple, she discovered that she has a fetish for that. Ikemitsu answers that he was rock hard all night. Now it's time for Yuzuki, but she is too embarrassed to tell them that she gets turned every time she thinks of Ikemitsu. So she lies and tells them that she has no worldly desires. The next day, Kiki tells them that their training has been fruitful as they have started to face their worldly desires. She also mentions that those who say that they have no worldly desires are the biggest liars. Hearing this, Yuzuki gets pale as she hides her face due to embarrassment. Seeing that they are improving at a good pace, Kiki gives them a day off due to Christmas Eve. But poor Ikemitsu is depressed all day due to his PTSD of seeing his father being fought upon by his lovers on Christmas. This curse has followed him his whole life, everywhere. In bars, in cars, sidewalks, stores, everywhere. There's no escape. He's God's cursed man. To cure his curse, Yuzuki takes him out for shopping. Their little shopping trip turns into a date as they enjoy their night. At last, they stop by a Buddhist shop where they are mistaken by the shopkeeper to be couples, so she gives them a couple's prayer bead. Yuzuki tries to refuse, but her dressing and blushed face says otherwise. After doing their shopping, they head back home. At home, the girls are sitting together enjoying their Christmas Eve. They talk about how Ikemitsu has changed their life ever since he came to the temple. They all agree and are happy that this happened except for Mia's older sister Kagura. The next day at night, all the girls are gathered for Christmas night as Ikemitsu cooks up a feast for them. After enjoying their food, the girls exchange presents with each other. After everyone goes to sleep, Yuzuki and Ikemitsu give food to the Buddha as they pray. After praying, they both bring their presents and exchange them with each other. The present is none other than couples' prayer beads. They both wear them as they are about to hold hands together, but Kiki barges in and tells them the devastating news that the ceremony of priesthood will be performed in the temple, so they have to do something regarding the condition of it. Even their Buddha station is broken in half and is held by duct tape. The next night, they all head to a hot spring together to have a nice and relaxing bath. The tickets to the bath were a gift from Kagura, who seems to be cooking something inside her head. Inside the bath, the girls head to their section while Akimitsu heads towards his own. Outside the room, he is given a mysterious potion by the staff which he drinks anyway. The potion is an aphrodisiac that leaves the man strong and hard for 3 days. The prank doesn't end there, as Akimitsu's room is the mixed bathroom where the girls are bathing. No matter how much he tries to avoid and escape, he gets caught by Kagura, who planned this whole thing, and is punished by the girls. After clearing the misunderstanding, everyone is about to head home, but Kagura and Mia stay behind to take some extra dips in the water. Kagura also holds Akimitsu back and doesn't let him leave. Akimitsu is chilling in the bath when Kagura comes in and starts to seduce him. However, Akimitsu doesn't give in, as Kagura boldens her approach as she tells him that her goal is to make Mia an erotic queen who has a harem of 100 men. But Akimitsu is a boulder in her path which she must destroy. Everything is heard by Mia, who is standing outside, so Kagura has no choice but to knock both of them out. Akimitsu wakes up and finds himself strapped to a chair. Kagura is in front of him and tells him to leave. If he agrees to leave, she will pay back his debt to the temple, which will alleviate their pressure, and the girls will be happy. It's a New Year custom to pound fresh matcha and eat it every New Year's Day. So Akimitsu and the girls get right to it. Akimitsu is accompanied by Tsukuyo, who helps him pound the matcha, while Kagura makes erotic jokes to make their life harder. If pounding matcha wasn't enough, Mia comes to the ground in a bunny girl costume. Seeing her in this erotic dress makes Akimitsu go insane, but the fun doesn't end there, as Kagura forces them to pound the matcha together. Holding her tight, Akimitsu helps her pound the matcha as their hips pound each other. Kagura fully enjoys the pounding as she records them. After the pounding session, Akimitsu cooks up a nice and hot meal for everyone. After that, he heads to give the soup to Kiki, who is sitting outside basking in the moonlight. They both sit together and drink sake while enjoying the view. Kiki teases Akimitsu as she pounces on him, so he runs away, fearing his virginity. The next day, all of them head to the temple to make their prayers for the new year. But this whole time, Akimitsu keeps on thinking about Kagura and her offer. But he makes up his mind after Yuzuki assures him that she will make the temple a place where they can all live there happily. This reminds him of the promise he made when Yuzuki went to the head priest for the engagement. He runs off to Kagura and tells her his final decision. He explains to her that Yuzuki is very important to him and he can't give up on her. Hearing this, she gets angry, as she knows Mia is in love with Akimitsu. But hearing his next words calms her down. He tells her that he knows she cares for Mia, and that's why she pulled that prank and gave him that offer. Hearing him blab so many good things about her makes Kagura embarrassed, so she kicks him in the nuts to shut him up. Poor Akimitsu wakes up the next morning and finds that his nuts are intact. He feels refreshed and is happy, but after hearing the words Kagura, he gets frightened and hides in his blanket. Mia realizes this, so she takes him to Kagura, who laughs and makes fun of him for being so afraid. Seeing Mia and Akimitsu laughing together, she thinks of an idea for how to separate him from Yuzuki. Later, Tsukuyo is doing her usual work when she can't stop thinking about Akimitsu, and every time he comes near her, her heart starts to beat loudly. Kagura watches her from behind and laughs menacingly. She captures Tsukuyo's attention and shows her a video of Akimitsu and Mia doing exercises that look like they are pounding each other. Tsukuyo gets embarrassed and feels depressed, as well as starts to feel jealous. So to solve this problem, she suggests an idea. Why not just interrogate Mia about it? All three of them sit around the table as Kagura questions Mia if she likes Akimitsu or not. Mia answers that she doesn't like him like that. But seeing that Akimitsu has a similar mindset to her, she can't help but fantasize about him and her together. Hearing her lewd fantasies, Tsukuyo and Kagura tie her in an indecent position as they question her further. However, their interrogation session is interrupted by Akimitsu, who barges into the room and sees Mia in a BDSM position, which causes him to question what they are doing all alone in the room. At the same moment, Kagura walks into the room with the camera in her hand. She asks them about what video they were talking about. Kagura shows her the video in which Akimitsu and Mia are exercising, which fascinates her as she wants to play this game too. Tsukuyo realizes that Kagura was pranking her and that the video was just them doing exercises. She gets all flushed up as she curses herself for her dirty mind. The next day, Akimitsu is about to cook a meal when he finds out that they are out of rice. And the worst part is that they don't even have any money. Yuzuki learns about their situation from Akimitsu and tells them that it's time to beg for rice. They go and knock on every house. After being rejected the whole day, they head to the final house, where they finally manage to get the rice and a whole lot of it. Seeing Yuzuki carrying rice on her back reminds him of the first day that he met her. He thinks to himself that it must be fate that they meet again. Kiki summons Yuzuki and Ikemitsu to the room and informs them of the repair costs needed to repair the temple hall so it is in good enough condition to perform the ceremony. The total cost would be around 500,000 yen. Ikemitsu is completely shocked to hear the amount and gets worried about how they would acquire it. But Yuzuki is optimistic as she assures them that everything would be fine if they leave it to her. Later, Ikemitsu is trying to raise money through a site, but it requires a contact number and his phone is broken, so he has no choice but to ask someone for their phone. He heads to Yuzuki's room and knocks on the door. She opens the door after a few seconds and invites him in. At first, Ikemitsu doesn't pay any attention, but soon he realizes that Yuzuki is wearing a maid dress. Seeing her big assets makes his blood rush to his brain as he gets the nosebleed. He somehow manages to ask for her phone, so she bends over to search the phone, showcasing her erotic sides to him. Poor Ikemitsu falls from all the nosebleeds. Just when she is about to give him her phone, Ikemitsu asks her about the maid's dress. She sees herself in the mirror and realizes what she's wearing. She gets embarrassed as she hurriedly tries to explain that she got it from her friend who is helping her with a part-time job. She also informs him that she will work 6 jobs to earn enough money to repair the temple. However, Ikemitsu is concerned for her health and asks her to stop, but Yuzuki is serious and tells him she is fine. Both of them start to debate and end up betting that if Ikemitsu can make Yuzuki sleep, she will give him her phone. Ikemitsu massages her, which causes her to moan loudly. Soon his massage starts to get hardcore, causing her to moan even more loudly. Tsukuyo, who is passing by, hears this and opens the door and finds Ikemitsu stretching all of Yuzuki's limbs. After this massage, Yuzuki tries to stay awake but keeps falling. Seeing this, Ikemitsu tells her that it's his win and that she should quit tiring herself out this much, but Yuzuki gets angry and tells him that he has no business in her words. Hearing this, Ikemitsu doesn't have the heart to say anything, so he just asks Tsukuyo to go out with him tomorrow. Hearing this, she gets all flustered as she mistakes his words as a proposal for a date. The next day, she gets all ready in her best clothes as she waits for him. Soon Ikemitsu comes and greets her in his casual monk outfit. Seeing this, poor Tsukuyo's hope gets ruined, but she still believes in the power of the date. They both head out to a smartphone shop where, using a couple's package, Ikemitsu scores a cheap deal. After getting the smartphone, they both head home, but Tsukuyo stops him as she requests him to exchange numbers. After exchanging contact information, Tsukuyo starts to imagine lewd scenes in her mind, but Ikemitsu's words make her fall into the harsh reality as they head home. Yuzuki is cursing herself for being so dumb yesterday and saying such insensitive words to Ikemitsu. She is thinking about how to apologize to him when she sees him walking towards the temple with Tsukuyo beside him. She gets all flustered and runs away. On one side, Yuzuki is lamenting her mistake, and on the other side, Ikemitsu feels bad for not respecting Yuzuki's boundaries and thinks about how to improve his relationship with her again. Kiki summons Ikemitsu to talk to him all alone. She asks him about his fight with Yuzuki and why that happened. Ikemitsu explains the whole incident, which leads Kiki to laugh as she remarks that it's just a couple's quarrel. But on a serious note, she asks him about his opinion of Yuzuki. Ikemitsu tells her about all the good qualities of Yuzuki, which causes Kiki to remark that it's just his personal bias. While they are discussing the fight, Kagure comes to Kiki and tells her that there is a patronage outside the temple. Learning this, Kiki rushes towards the temple, but it's too late as the patronage has already left. She hurriedly asks Yuzuki if they gave money, but she tells him that she forgot to ask them. Yuzuki laments about her inability to become a great priestess like her mom and causes herself to sink into depression. Seeing this, Kiki orders Yuzuki that she won't be training her anymore. Ikemitsu tries to talk to her, but she refuses to change her decision. The next day, Yuzuki wakes up and is reminded of yesterday's event. She shrugs it off as she heads out and greets the girls who seem to be fighting over Tsukuyo for getting Ikemitsu's number. Seeing this, she just heads to the temple and is about to clean, but she realizes that it's already spotless as Ikemitsu cleans it every day. Seeing this, she heads out to hunt for jobs but can't get it anywhere. So she just heads to the bench and is about to buy a drink, but thinking about the cost to repair the temple, she stops. On the other side, Ikemitsu begs Kiki to let Yuzuki train under her once again, but she refuses to listen to him. He is about to beg her again when he receives a call from Tsukuyo that Yuzuki is missing and hasn't come home. Hearing this, he cuts the call and runs to find her. It's raining heavily outside, but this doesn't stop him as he continues to search for her. After an exhaustive search, he finally locates her hiding beneath the very bridge where he had sought shelter when Yuzuki had cast him out. Gently, he takes the box from her and enfolds her in a warm embrace. Yuzuki's tears begin to flow as she utters, "You're so warm," her voice trembling with emotion. The next day, Yuzuki wakes up and finds Ikemitsu sleeping beside her. He also wakes up and accidentally bumps his head with her. They both laugh as they are glad that everything is back to normal. Yuzuki also apologizes to Kiki as she now understands her mistake and asks her to let her join the training once again. Kiki approves her request and assures her that she would become a fine priestess. The journey at the Mizuki temples continues. And Akimitsu continues to find himself blessed by the whimsical lucky pervert moment god. The girls have also grown fond of Akimitsu's presence in the temple, and a sense of contentment fills the air as they walk hand in hand toward their respective goals. That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.